Well, through the haze of a hot Miami afternoon, we see the plane of Donald Trump. We know it's his because his name is on the side, has touched down, wheels down in Miami ahead of tomorrow's court appearance in the Southern District of Florida.
The former president is accused of mishandling classified documents when leaving office, of obstructing the investigations of a grand jury and the FBI, and to lying to the FBI after having the materials. Trump has referred to the 37-count indictment as a joke and over the weekend called the special counsel, Jack Smith, quote, deranged.
He is expected to be in court for his arraignment around 3 p.m. tomorrow, and officials there say that they are prepared to handle what could be large crowds gathered outside of the courthouse during that historic appearance, the first appearance by an American president to face federal charges. A former president or current Ulysses S. Grant got in trouble for speeding in a buggy around the White House. That is the extent of law breaking we've seen from people who have sat in the Oval Office, accused or otherwise. And now we have this. It's a big moment. The plane is arriving. The plan is, from former President Trump's perspective, to be present for the arraignment, then fly back to New Jersey and address the public, his voting public, 61% support among Republican primary voters. And we have Manuel Bojorquez there on the ground. Lily, I think you have the first question to Manny.
Well, yes, Manny's on the ground to break down what we can expect. So walk us through the TikTok, as we call it, of what's going to happen. What are the next steps now that he's made landing up until he takes off from Miami tomorrow to head to New Jersey?
Clearly a lot of activity right now here at Miami International Airport. Helicopters up above as they watch the former president's plane land here. It was just about two and a half minutes ago that we saw it land. I'm looking right now over directly in the area in front of me, which are some of the private hangars and terminals here at MIA. You can see the tail of the airplane still kind of taxiing towards that area. We watched earlier as several of the Secret Service personnel who always travel with the president prepared what will be the motorcade that will lead him here over to Trump National in Doral. Maybe about a 10-minute drive. That is where the president is expected to overnight. We're not expected to hear from him tonight. We're told this is just where he will spend the night as he prepares for the arraignment tomorrow. Earlier over at Trump National in Doral, we saw a handful of protesters, supporters of the president, who had shown up to wave flags, they said, and protest what they view as the weaponization of the Department of Justice. So there's a good chance he may see some of those supporters as he makes his way over to his property here in Doral, Florida. But again, so much of this is fluid at the moment, trying to see exactly when he may exit the plane, when he might get into that motorcade, which could pivot around us here where we are standing as it makes its way out to the main road leading over to Doral. We heard earlier from the mayor of Miami and also some of the law enforcement officials who said, listen, we're prepared for anything. They want to reassure the public that they will keep law and order, even though there is a sense that there is possibly a sense that there could be some unrest, of course, when you're talking about people who are so impassioned in their defense of the president that may be out in the streets tomorrow, and also counter-protesters. One number that was thrown out was 5,000, but that comes with the caveat that they really just have no idea how many people may be out in the streets of downtown tomorrow around the courthouse, because there are so many variables, including the weather. As you know, pop-up thunderstorms here in Miami will send everybody running for cover when they do happen.
Yeah, Manny, you mentioned Secret Service. They're on the scene, obviously, to protect the former president. That is part of the bill of assignments that comes following a term in the White House. And the special counsel pointed out in the indictment that the Secret Service were not guarding the alleged classified and highly valuable government documents that were at Mar-a-Lago. One question I have, when there are high security days in Washington, we now see, as a matter of course, the National Guard brings out the temporary fencing, hardens the perimeter. If you're aware, are you seeing that? Have you heard about that around the courthouse there or around any of the former president's properties?
Here's what we do know. Federal courthouses traditionally have very high security. I've covered cases where you couldn't even bring in your cell phone. So there are a lot of potential blockades that those federal courthouses already have in place to prevent cars, for example, from driving too close or driving through. We haven't seen barricades go up just yet. At least I haven't seen those in the time that I spent over by the federal courthouse. I haven't been there today. But our understanding from the briefing that law enforcement just had with the mayor is that they're going to feel this out. If they're getting a sense that it's a small crowd, they may shut down a few roads just to control the crowds. If they're getting a sense that this is going to be perhaps thousands of people, then they will do what is a unified command, have all of the policymakers, lawmakers, law enforcement, heads of law enforcement together in one room so they can all make these decisions together. And that's when they will continue to maybe block off more roads to try to get control of the situation. So it's a wait-and-see approach, but they do say that they have added personnel to all of the jurisdictions, all of the law enforcement entities that will be handling this, including the fire department, because even if nothing particularly bad happens, which is the hope, you have to imagine that with the heat that we have here in Miami this time of year, there could be emergencies. There could be protesters or people out there that could suffer heat stroke. You have to be able to get to them quickly, be able to get them to a hospital if that's what needs to happen. So those are all the things that are in flux right now that they are weighing, is how to best prepare for all of this, and keeping in mind that the area where the federal courthouse is, it's a downtown area. So like Manhattan, you have businesses there, you have residential buildings there. They're trying to minimize the impact on people who live in those areas, but they're making it very clear that given the size of the crowd that is expected, if it does materialize, people are going to definitely be inconvenienced by all of this tomorrow.
And just, Manny, going by the coverage of the last arraignment, looking at New York, looking at Miami, I mean, just for people who are not familiar with Miami, talk to us about what can we expect in terms of those crowds. What has been the mood? And as I mentioned earlier, I mean, Miami is where Enrique Tarrio, the former head of the Proud Boys, who was recently convicted, is from and was organizing. Talk to us about the mood there and what you're hearing from people in terms of whether or not they're planning to go out there in full force.
Well, when he was indicted in Manhattan, we were out at Mar-a-Lago, just outside his home there in Palm Beach. And every day there were at least a few dozen people that showed up to show their support. And on the day the indictment happened, there were possibly up to several hundreds that had lined the main route from the airport over to Mar-a-Lago. Here we are in a situation where they may be some of the president's supporters waiting for his departure from Trump National in Doral tomorrow as he heads to the courthouse. It's a bit of a wide area between Doral and the courthouse, so I don't know that you'll necessarily get people lining that route, which means that a lot of people may choose to greet the former president over at the federal courthouse, and that's the concern because, of course, it's a densely populated area that they may have to shut down some streets in order to maintain control. The difference that some have also pointed out between Manhattan and South Florida is that the president perhaps enjoys a lot more support among voters here in Miami-Dade County than he would in a place like Manhattan. So that's one of the reasons they're expecting perhaps more people to show up tomorrow in support of the former president. Of course, then you have the possibility of counter-protests. The one thing we've heard over and over from the law enforcement and the mayor here in Miami is that, look, we want to respect everybody's First Amendment right. We want everybody to be able to go out there if they choose and express how they feel about this momentous occasion, but they're also going to have to enforce law and protect the safety of all these people. So if anybody is deemed to be a threat, you can imagine they will be quickly removed. That is just some of the calculus going into all of this because we just really don't know.
Manny Bojorquez, thank you. We'll let you go.